Good morning, family. Once again, it's your DC dude. First of all, I want to welcome you back if you are already a subscriber to this channel. If you are new to this channel and you love DC like I do, I recommend that you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can stay in the know about where we're going to go. Also, family, I would like to remind you that this channel is all about and for you, right? So I invite you to take ownership and engage through the comment section. Give your input on the material that I present, because all I can do is come from the point of view of my experience and my knowledge. So the more that people get involved and engage in the channel and bring their knowledge and experience, the more we can uncover about this fascinating city we call Washington, D.C. So family, I am so excited, as usual, about our trip today. We are going to Jones Point in Alexandria, Virginia, to take a look at the very first boundary stone. DC dude, why are we going to Virginia? And what the heck is a boundary stone? Stay tuned and I will answer all your questions. So to answer the first question, what is a boundary stone? So for those who don't know, boundary stones mark the original 100 square miles that was once DC. It all started with the Resident Act of 1790 that authorized George Washington, our president at the time, to select 100 square miles of land ceded, given to us by Maryland, which was 69 square miles, and Virginia, which was 31 square miles. That's why we're in Alexandria, Virginia today. So we're at Jones Point. Jones Point is the southernmost tip of the original diamond of what was once Washington, D.C. Okay, family, I wanted to clear up a couple of things, and I thought I would come home and use my trusty map that I used in other videos. When I started first researching the boundary stones, and they talked about the very first stone was at the southernmost tip, I'm thinking Southern Avenue is I'm thinking D.C. You know, they don't even mention that, right? So I'm scratching my head thinking, you know, when I cross 14th Street Bridge, I'm going west of D.C. So how can Virginia be the southernmost tip, even though it is south of us? True enough, it is south of us. But I had to see it for myself on the map. So, use my little trusty line. This is the D.C. that we know. This is the weirdo shape that we've known, you know, as long as we've been living here, right? Strange. Not a diamond at all. You know what I mean? But before 1846, when Virginia retroceded, this is how it looked. This is Southern Avenue. Remember in my videos about how the streets were made? This is Southern Avenue. Right? If I take a line and go from Southern Avenue and then come on down, this red mark right here is Jones Point, where we just came from. That's how it used to be originally. And from here, it will go up to a diamond to be like this. And then this will come down to meet that. You understand? Let me show you. So today DC is 68 point whatever square miles. You know, they say in the history books that, you know, Maryland was given 69 square miles, Virginia was given 31 square miles, right? So with Virginia taking theirs back, that's why DC has that odd shape. But prior to that, here's Jones Point. Jones Point, where we just came from, is right here. This is the lines before 1846. Before they retroceded, it was a diamond. So DC of today, the 68 point whatever square miles, or they rounded up to 69 square miles, is what we have today. Prior to, the whole entire 100 square miles was Washington, D.C. at one time before 1846. So after the site was selected, the first thing George Washington had to do was set the boundaries and claim the land. For this monumental task, he hired Andrew Ellicott, who was a prominent professional surveyor, to survey the land. Andrew Ellicott, in turn, hired a Benjamin Banneker, a free African-American who was an astronomer and mathematician. Banneker was assigned the arduous task of making astronomical observations and complex calculations necessary to establish this southernmost tip of what will become Washington, D.C. Once this southernmost tip was identified, Benjamin Banneker and Andrew Ellicott set up an observation tent, if you will, right here at Jones Point. Each night, Banneker recorded celestial movements with what's called a zenith telescope, which is a telescope used for precise measurements of star positions. After that, Benjamin Banneker left Jones Point and the survey to return to his farm in what's known as Ellicott City today in Maryland. From there, Ellicott and his team began the monumental task of clearing 40 miles of land to place a stone every mile along the four sides and at each point of the diamond, for a total of 40 stones. Today, of the 40 stones, 36 of them still exist, surviving wind, war, and water for almost 230 years. Although several of the stones have been moved or severely damaged from the 1790s. And like I said, the stone here at Jones Point was replaced in 1794 with the inscription, "The beginning of the territory of Columbia." So of course, this land where I sit now, that was once a part of DC, from the, like I said, the Residence Act of 1790 began as a part of DC, but retroceded their land, taken back their land from DC in 1846. And it's written that from the beginning, Virginia wanted their land back. I mean, for starters, people who were Virginia residents at first and had the right to vote for their government officials and presidents and etc., lost that right to vote as when they became when they became residents of D.C. Also, during that time, Virginia was pro-slavery and weren't willing at that time to make the strides towards abolition that D.C. was. Also, the 31 square miles of Virginia that was D.C. wasn't given equal opportunities like the 69 square miles that Maryland gave to D.C. because I think it was in 1802 there was an act that came down that Virginia couldn't build government buildings and therefore couldn't reap the benefits of being part of the nation's capital. Okay, family, let's get going and head back to what is still known as D.C. and take a look at some of the boundary stones east of the Anacostia River that we probably never even noticed before. I'm guilty. Guilty. The stones that we're about to look at, I passed 1 billion times and never even noticed they were there. So there we go, family. The history of the boundary stones. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe even got a little value from it. I'm open to any questions that you may have. There's so much more to cover about it, and there's so many more stones to see. You can probably make a day of it or a project of your own to go discover the rest of the boundary stones. And there is no telling where we're going to end up next. So if you want to ride, just click on subscribe.